Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there really no hope in the world? Sometimes it's easy to think that, especially when we hear of threatened Quran burnings and when we hear of response of violence from Muslim extremists. When we think of war in the Middle East and hear the diplomats say this is our last chance for peace. And when people like our congregation may be losing homes and losing jobs, it may be easy to say there is no balm in Gilead. But the gospel message says, yes, indeed there is balm in Gilead. There is always hope. There's always healing that is possible. But our Bible also says that where there is no vision, the people perish. So we need a vision. And we have a vision at St. John's Church. The vision of our church is threefold: to invite openly and accept all persons. We talked about this last week. To commit ourselves to social justice, outreach, and interfaith cooperation. That's today. And then next week, to grow spiritually as individuals and as a community through education and worship. These are the three parts of our vision. Our commitment to social justice, outreach, and interfaith cooperation is our commitment to take our personal faith out beyond the walls of this place, into the community and into the world. These terms, social justice and outreach and interfaith cooperation, may be a little new to some of you. Social justice is a term that refers to working toward a more equal sharing of opportunities and resources. It's the idea that justice, or fairness, should not only be between two individuals, but it should be between groups in society. For example, all should have the necessities of life. At the heart of social justice as a concept is the idea of human rights. Everyone deserves something in order just to live, simply because we're human. Roman Catholics have traditionally put a big emphasis on social justice in their theology and particularly in aiding the poor. And in Judaism, there are two concepts from the Hebrew: hesed, which means deeds of mercy, and tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. And these two concepts, hesed and tikkun olam, teach an ethic of responsibility. In order to make the world better, we need to be engaged in acts of mercy and repairing the sin of the world. Well, I was interested to look up on Wikipedia. How many of you know about the resource on the computer? Wikipedia is the online encyclopedia. And you can't trust everything here, but they tell us. But it's a pretty good place to go quickly to find information. And I looked up social justice to see what sort of a common definition would be. And indeed it is to be working on a just sharing of the world's resources. And the examples given from faith communities were interesting to me: Roman Catholicism, Judaism, and Methodism. Of all the Protestant traditions, Wikipedia picked Methodism. as an example of social justice
Amen.
throughout our history. We're the only Protestant denomination mentioned, and certainly others are involved in committing themselves to social justice, but we have historically a strong reputation in this area. From the 18th century, when John Wesley was the founder of the Methodist movement, and in those days, some of the issues that came up in the conversation on social justice were prison reform and getting rid of slavery. And John Wesley was a leader in those two areas, among other areas of social justice issues. So here at St. John's, when we say that we are committed to social justice, it means that we're committed to the issues of our day. Issues like immigration reform, racism, poverty, literacy, health concerns, human trafficking, global warming, sustainable development. We could go on and on and on. Those are just to name a few. Our commitment to these issues isn't to solve every single problem in the world. How could we ever do that? Heavens knows. But it is to be informed and to take a stand and be advocates for change. That's part of our vision. So after social justice, our vision names outreach as another area of focus that we want to continue to work toward here at St. John's. And I say continue because outreach is nothing new to St. John's. We have had a long history of supporting programs like NOAA and COTS and the Living Room. Programs where on a local level we distribute food or clothing, or on a beyond local level we give money to help disaster victims around the country and around the world. We support these outreach ministries through our connectional giving as a denomination. The Board of Global Missions of the United Methodist Church sends missionaries around the world to provide medical supplies, economic development, the building of churches and schools. This is all outreach work. We support this and have for many years. The third area, after social justice and outreach, is our commitment to interfaith cooperation. I'd like to spend some time talking about this third area today, because it may be new for some people and it is so needed in our world. I'm going to talk particularly about the Islamic faith and our relation as Christians to people of Islam. And you know that there are such great needs in the world for new bridges between faiths, that people of Christianity and people of Islam might know one another better. This is our goal. So if I, as a Christian, want to begin building bridges with Muslims to better understand them and to be in dialogue and cooperation, I believe I need to start with myself. I need to start looking inward, to consider my own background as I engage in this dialogue. Too often we lash out at another person or another group without looking at our own biases. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about myself, who I am, where I come from, and why I believe what I believe. And I invite you to do the same in your own time this week. Think about your own background as it relates to interfaith cooperation. This is a lot about social context, and that's a term that we talk about in seminary a lot, and probably not so much in the local church. But social context has to do with how you are and who you are because of your environment and because of your culture and your background. We are certainly cultural beings, and that background has to do with how we view other people. Well, I was born to American parents of European descent. My father and his father were both Methodist ministers. Our family's highest values were religion and education. When I was a young girl, my best friend was Judy. Judy is Jewish. And when we were little, we played together, church and temple. And when we were at her house, we had a Star of David and a menorah and a miniature Torah. And we had Friday night services. And when we were at my house, we had a stained glass window and a cross. And We invited in the neighborhood, and we always took an offering. Important part of church. Well, I grew up in Berkeley. I had music lessons, and I traveled with my family abroad one year. I realized now how privileged I was. I went to college in Washington, D.C., and there I realized for the first time that not everybody in the world thinks as people do from Berkeley. And so when thinking about going away to college, you realize the world is a little bit broader than you thought. Well, in college in D.C., I worked in the cafeteria at school, and I was one of the few students at that college that worked on campus. And the people I worked with were African American and Puerto Rican middle-aged women. And we cleared tables together and set out the food together. So it was an interesting experience for me. I thought of myself as a person who knew people of different cultural backgrounds. And I was always interested in foreign languages and foreign cultures. Yet, I was a member of the mainstream culture. And am today. I've never experienced someone looking at me as the other. After September 11th, many Americans have viewed Muslims as the other. Even before September 11th, people from the Middle East or South Asia have looked different to many people. Look different in looks or dress or language, and certainly in religion. Many were viewed as the other.